Welcome to Key Tech. Please describe this channel if you are interested in today's video. On March 1st, the Wall Street Journal spread the news: Biden is starting his final struggle and will revoke the U.S. company's export license to Huawei. Biden uses this method to force domestic companies to use Huawei. Totally out of stock. Biden has implemented such serious measures on the grounds of potential threats to the country. So once the goods are out of stock, how will not only Huawei and other U.S. companies be affected? What measures will Huawei take to deal with the imminent complete outage by the United States? According to the Wall Street Journal report on March 1st, people familiar with the matter revealed that the Biden administration is considering revoking the export licenses of U.S. suppliers that sell products to Huawei. One of the measures. The Biden administration has previously stated that it is considering not issuing new export licenses to companies such as Qualcomm and Intel. The companies supply Huawei with the chips it needs for smartphones and other devices. A former senior security official familiar with the policy deliberations of the Biden administration said, although Huawei is placed on the Entity List trade controls, the policy that allows exports to Huawei is being phased out. The White House is now telling the Commerce Department, cut off 4G sales, time to give Huawei more pain, time to end them. The Wall Street Journal said that this new measure will further increase the weight on this basis. This is because of the heightened U.S.-China tensions caused by the recent balloon incident and the Russia-Ukraine conflict. Some industry officials have said the Biden administration may consider using the Huawei supply ban as leverage in larger negotiations with China, including trade and national security talks. As early as the day before the incident, the Financial Services Committee of the U.S. House of Representatives passed a series of bills imposing sanctions on China after discussions. Ready? The first is the economic sanctions on Chinese officials. The United States not only allows the Secretary of the Treasury to prohibit American financial institutions from providing services to Chinese officials and their families, but also makes American officials exclude Chinese officials from the meetings of major economic and trade cooperation institutions. At the same time, it also proposed to the International Monetary Fund, requiring China to increase the transparency of its exchange rate and continue to exert pressure. The United States asked the Ministry of Finance to issue a report on economic risks in China's financial sector on the grounds that it suspected that China's economy was unstable and that cooperation with Huawei would affect national economic security. This is also Biden's preparation for his next day's measures in advance. This is also an omen that Biden will struggle in the final struggle and block Huawei's back road by coercing American companies. Foreign media related to Bloomberg stated that these decisions will also be sent to Biden's office through a series of votes by the two parties and members of Congress, and will be signed and issued by Biden for implementation. The results of the decisions will greatly affect the relationship between China and the United States. Economic relationship. U.S. officials revealed hostility towards Huawei in speeches. Previously, Estevez stated at the House of Representatives Foreign Affairs Committee that the United States is using its own authority to prevent sensitive American technology from falling into the hands of malicious actors. The insinuation here is Huawei, and other officials have pointed the finger at Huawei. The former head of national security of the United States said more directly, the U.S. policy used to allow U.S. companies to export to Huawei regardless of the existence of the entity list. Now this unreasonable policy is gradually ending. This reveals American plans. Therefore, among the about 70% of the approved enterprises involved in exporting to China, the export license will be completely cancelled. With many policies fruitless, Biden began his final struggle. In the past, Biden's plan included wooing TSMC, which made it impossible for TSMC to manufacture for Huawei, and even blocked the supply of many chips for Huawei. This actually promoted Huawei's independent innovation, so it gradually reduced its dependence on the United States. Biden found that these policies could not affect Huawei. Even though the sales license data for Huawei approved by the U.S. Department of Commerce's Bureau of Industry and Security involved products worth $61.4 billion, Biden began to implement more stringent measures. Biden will propose that in the future, he may consider not continuing to issue new licenses to Qualcomm and Intel, two companies that export to Huawei. A complete outage will endanger American companies and endanger the domestic economic order of the United States. Mao Ning, spokesperson of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, said in response to this incident, "This practice of the United States violates the principles of market economy and international economic and trade rules, and damages the confidence of the international community in the business environment of the United States. Under such technological hegemony, it will definitely affect the American business." Now that Chinese chips have gradually replaced American chips, this measure will further reduce the market share of American companies in China, because after all, Huawei is China's largest technology industry. Once Biden's policy is implemented, the production turnover of American companies will definitely be hit accordingly and cause a lot of dissatisfaction. Such behavior will jeopardize the international image of the United States. At the same time, as Mao Ning said, the behavior of the United States will reduce the trust of the international community in the United States, thereby reducing cooperation with the United States. Now China has invested $180 billion to promote domestic chip production to resist the U.S. blockade. As a result, Huawei faces the obstacles of the United States, and there will be strong national forces behind it to support it, but American companies have lost this protection. In the end, it will be American companies and the international image of the United States that will suffer the most. It can be seen that the United States, tearing face with Huawei this time, is definitely Biden's helpless struggle regardless of the damage to his country. In the end, Biden wanted to make a final struggle by completely cutting off Huawei's stock. This also revealed specific measures that would not issue export licenses for U.S. companies through reports from the U.S. media. It can be seen that Biden is also desperate this time. Survive. So will China increase its support to Huawei to deal with this dilemma? Will the United States take measures to make up for the losses of its own companies in this game? Welcome to leave a message below to share.